Welcome to the inaugural episode of Hikes with Dirtbike. On this episode, well, here he is. This is my guest, Ross Thorn.
Hello.
He's tall, he's handsome, he's a good singer. He's got a very deep voice sometimes. He's a D&D player.
Yeah.
I'm still learning how to operate my hand-operated machinery here.
Oh.
Now we've started to be rained down.
Yeah, just a little. Oh.
We'll get through it.
We will get through. We will prevail.
How much time have you spent in Hartley Park?
I spent quite a bit of time in Hartley Park. Back in 2020, I had left my job. Wednesdays, it was like Wednesday's right day. So I would walk around and hike in Hartley from our apartment and then like do this circuit. And then like once towards the end of the circuit, I would sit into a river, which I think we'll get to. I think if we go to the left.
This way?
Yeah. The last grave I dug was actually for my cat.
Oh.
Back in, yeah, what was it, 2018, 2017?
Sure.
So that's the last grave that I dug.
And you got a cat now,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
What's the cat's name?
Aspen.
Aspen.
Yeah.
How's Aspen doing today?
She's good. She's a little cutie. Little snuggle baby.
What kind of tea?
Earl Grey white tip tea
Ooh,
from
okay.
Tea Source in Roseville.
Okay. Do you take any honey, lemon, anything?
Honey, and then a couple ginger snaps with it. My Dell ginger. I'm very specific about my tea regimen.
Okay. How big of a quantity of tea do you buy in?
I buy it in pounds.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I literally just got an order on the week off from tour of a pound of Earl Grey white tip, a pound of Gambler's Luck, which is another black tea, like a breakfast tea, and then a pound of a soother tea, just like a throat soother tea,
Sure.
which is, also needed on the road,
Yeah.
as I'm finding out.
What is your height?
I'm 6'8".
6'8".
Yeah.
I believe the legal definition is 6'10".
Is that giant?
Yes.
So like I go into the bathroom and I don't see my face in the mirror, and then I have to get all of my clothes online. There's a bunch of little reminders that the world around you isn't built for you.
Sure. Back to music.
Yeah.
You've gotten to play on stage with some of the kind of like the best musicians Duluth has to offer.
Yeah.
Jacob Mann, one of them.
Jacob Mann is incredible.
Your current group, your fiddler, he's incredible.
Cliff is unreal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then who else? Jen
Jen on bass. Yep.
Yeah, and then who's someone you haven't gotten to work with yet that you'd like to? Obviously, like Charlie Parr.
Charlie Parr is actually the number one answer. I met Charlie at his residency at Cedar Lounge in January, and he was like, it was one of the most genuine interactions I'd had, and someone who like seemingly understood me a lot.
Yeah.
Like, he talked to me about my height, like, which is usually like.
Is he a tall guy?
No, he's not, but his
Okay.
son is. And so like I was making comments about how like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna try to post up to not be in someone's way, and then like I passed by him and I was like, oh, I'm just trying to like not be in the way, and that like that's the big thing for me, is that like I feel like just harkening back to like what I was saying is like I'm almost too big for this world, and I'm constantly reminded of that. And so like he just said some really kind words to me about that, because like he picked up on that really quickly, and so like he's got this perceptive ability to connect with people.
How about Jenny Lewis?
Isn't that
isn't that crazy?
wild to me?
I'm like a huge Jenny Lewis fan, but how much did you get to talk to her? Was there much interaction?
Yeah. I didn't really. So it wasn't until a couple years ago that I heard of Jenny Lewis, because my supervisor at work is a huge Jenny Lewis fan, and so then I listened to her like entire discography because of that, and she's got some awesome stuff, and this latest album was really good. So being able to like support her on a bill when she's playing that album is mind blowing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got a chance to talk to her a little bit, like during the Trampled set, and just slightly before that, and she was incredibly nice. I gave her a record of mine as well as a bandana, and I saw she like shared a picture of the bandana on her story, and I was like, cool.
Nice.
I hope it goes around, like she ties it around her puppy's neck or something, like
Yeah.
a little handkerchief.
I got a untied shoelace here. Would you
Yeah.
hold this for a
Yep.
sec?
Whoa.
You know what I wanted to ask about is voices. I find that I write a lot in voices and characters,
Yeah.
and
Oh.
you know. And then I was listening to your Gravedigger's Son song, and that seems to start off with a bit of a voice.
I think this is the spot.
All right, let's head down there.
Yeah, it does.
What is, you know, obviously that song has a bit of a connection to your dad. So do you think that's a dad voice? Do you think?
I don't think so. I think it's like there's a little piece of me in there, I guess, that I actually kind of found out a little bit more later. I was just like trying to write the song in a style that my dad would like, and I had that chorus for the longest time, but I thought it was going to be a verse. There's like a little bit of me in there. Let's see here. I think I would just. Oh yeah, it's changed a little bit, but I would sit on that rock over there. That's where I finished Gravedigger's Son. It is now covered by fallen timber or something like that, but it wasn't at the time. But yeah, just sitting in here with my toes in the water. It's pretty idealistic and very, very soothing. Even in the rain, man, it's even almost better in the rain. What I realized is that like a lot of it, and a lot of what I go through and like what I'm talking through in therapy, and like actually like the whole purpose of South of Somewhere is about like never being enough, and like this song is too. And I didn't realize it when I wrote it, and it was like not until like almost just like late last year, after it had been written for 2 years, I was like, oh, that's in there too, of like not being enough, like never, I don't know, never measuring up and never being good enough, which is something I struggle with a lot.
Yeah.
This was also a work.
I like the pink pages.
Yeah, I know, that's so cute, the little edges on there. Oh yeah, here it is. There it is.
Or you write everything in cursive too.
Yeah, I like writing in cursive. It's not like I think all kids should write in cursive, but I just like the way it looks.
Yeah.
And it's like kind of like you can't really read that if you're not like privy to it, so it's almost a little hidden language.
Do you remember the last year that you learned cursive in school?
It was probably 6th grade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'm 2 years younger than you, and I think I learned it in 4th grade.
Nice.
Nice.
Yeah. There's tons of little silly puns in there, like
You are kind of a
throughout.
silly guy.
I am. Yeah.
You like to make little jokes. You like to. You did the "Can I pet that dog?"
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. I think you're a John Prine fan.
I
you
love
know?
John Prine.
And John
yeah.
Prine has a lot of humor in a lot of his songs, you know, and like, but so profound as well. And I've also talked to you about like I'm a big Bo Burnham fan.
Oh really?
Yeah, and I used to watch What like every day, kind of like the stereotypical cliche like white woman's Instagram, and like kind of poking fun at it, and then it's like it goes into this part where it's like her favorite photo of her mom. The caption says, "I can't believe it. It's been a decade since you've been gone," and then you just feel like an ass. You know, like you feel guilty and you feel sad after just laughing. You know, like finding humor in the whole thing. Like a goal for songwriting is to like have a little bit of that. You know?
A laugh and a cry, and
Yeah.
that is one of my favorite singer-songwriters is Captain Seabeard. I don't know if you know who Captain Seabeard is. He literally made me laugh and cry during a song.
Like, and that's just such an amazing experience. I don't know if this sounds weird to non-songwriters or maybe even songwriters too, but like making myself cry when I write a song, like I'll kind of come up with a line or whatever, and then like that's sort of my litmus, like my litmus test of like, is this gonna resonate? Is this like where I want this to go? And if it like fills me up so much with some sort of emotion that like I start to well up in my eyes, it's like that's what I was going for, and that's like what I use to sort of guide me.
Yeah, I've been kind of tracking a new EP lately, and I just rediscovered a song that I wrote the whole song, and it made me sob the whole time I was writing it.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I'm never going to play that song again.
Never again.
And then I found that song last night. I was awake last night for some reason, midnight to 2 a.m. And I found that song, and I played it. And I'm like, all right, it's going on the EP.
It's the one.
It's happening.
I think that's like, it's so vulnerable, and it's such a silly thing too. Like, I think songwriting is silly, you know? It's like you're writing poems and then you're putting music to it and then you're like reciting those in front of people.
Yeah.
And like it's silly in like the most beautiful way. I wrote parodies first. Like parodies of songs are sort of like the start of things for me.
Sure.
Where you could like write a funny verse, and it's always humor driven to me. Like I like listening to Weird Al and like making friends laugh through like songwriting seemingly is core to me, and I'm finding this out right now as I talk about it. You know, like the first time I started performing like my own stuff was in high school. We would do these, like we had skits for like homecoming, and like a lot of the times we would work on like a parody song and like do a skit involved with it or something like that. And then like we had this band called Quail, where Quale.
What did that mean?
It was with these brothers their last name was Wales, W-A-L-E.
Okay.
And then like we also saw DJ Wale, like, and we thought it was spelled like pronounced whale, and so we thought that was really funny. And then our explanation was like, you know, it was me, my brother, so our last name is Thorn, and these Wales brothers, and we're like, oh yeah, it's just what you get if you combine our last names. It's like totally not true. And it was just like we just stopped it there. But we had original music. We sold CDs. We did like our own guerrilla marketing in high school by like printing out cues, which is now like anonymous, synonymous with QAnon, unfortunately. But like at the time, it was just Quail, and so we could get away with it without being weirdly political. Yeah, so we would like print those out and play those, and like people would listen. I never really performed those songs live, but then in college, I started writing more seriously, and that was like, I was like, oh, I can do this. Like, there's songs that I like, they're starting to get to a point where like I would listen to them if they were put out by somebody else. I one time went to an open mic when I was living in Madison, and it was the weirdest and coolest open mic where like somebody did a dance number. Like they just put on music and they danced to it.
Yes.
And I was like, this is interesting. I've never been to an open mic where that happened.
The Flame is doing some things like that.
Cool.
And it's very incredible. I'm a fan of that.
My funniest open mic story is I was in Point, and there was an open mic at this, gosh, I don't even remember the name of the bar.
Stevens Point, Wisconsin.
Stevens Point, sorry, yeah, Stevens Point, where I went to college. And I signed up to do this open mic, showed up with the guitar, and signed up, and like they're like, yeah, like we'll get ready in, I don't know, 15 minutes or so. And then like I'm just looking around and waiting, and like I got a drink, and I just see no one else has any instruments. And I was like, this is weird a little bit to me. And then the first person went and they did a comedy bit, and I was like, oh, that's cool. Like a little, you know, it's truly open mic. Then the second person went and they did a comedy bit, and I was like, wait a second. This was, and like, it wasn't advertised as a comedy open mic, but there were no other musicians. It was only comedians. And I was like, oh shit. I am the only musician at a comics open mic. And so I was like, all right, I need to do some sort of jokes.
Some funny songs.
Yeah, so I was like, everyone's got some good jokes, but the biggest joke is on me, because I thought this was a music open mic. And then I just did Angel by Shaggy and left.
You know what we should talk about, Ross? We have a show coming up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We're going to be at Wusso's Concert Cafe on Thursday, May 30th. Is that the current month?
That's the current
that
month.
Is the current month.
Date.
Yes. 6 p.m. I'm going to start talking, and then there's going to be music at 6:30. I don't know what I'll talk about, but it'll be cool. And hopefully this will be out before then, if not this little tiny snippet. And if you're watching this after then it already happened.
You know what? I grew up, there's a dirt bike track in Sugar Camp too.
Really?
Yeah, behind the Midway station, the gas station. And I would hear them at night just like if it was like, you know, like a racing night or something. Yeah. We lived close enough, like as the crow flies, that you would hear it. Sugar Camp is like literally 7 bars, a church, and a gas station. So, but said with love. That's not to put it down at all, but that there's just no music store.
Well, I think that's a great way to end it. We're at the end of our journey here. Thanks, Ross, for having me.
Thank you
for coming out with me.
Thanks, buddy.
Shake hands there. No one saw that, but we did shake hands. Thank you.